Okay, so we are back with what is hopefully going to be the second video in a series, and I'm just going to jump right in. I don't want to do too much of an intro. If you are interested in and want to understand what's going on here with the second one, you may want to go back to the first one. So I will, I guess I'll try to put the link in the description below when I finish this video, but that's the username, YouTube, and there's the title of the first video. What I'm about to jump right into is not going to really make any sense to you if you don't watch the first one, but I don't want to repeat myself too much. So I did talk about before something about me taking out my daughter somewhere in this timeline and um, to dinner, and she had maybe, she didn't know, but I sunk emotionally because she said, "Dad, please don't date anyone my age." My daughter at the time was like 26, something like that. And yet I thought that God had told me that I was going to meet someone much younger than me, and via a story that my daughter and my ex-wife and my future daughter-in-law had told me, and some verses that I got. But then my daughter says that around this time, I think. Anyway, as I kept praying about it, though, it was about, I don't know, maybe it was the same year, 2008. Maybe a few months later, a couple months later, I don't know. I took my daughter out to eat again, and this time she more or less she said, I think I've changed my mind about older men, younger girls, and from my point of view, younger girls. She said, I have a friend, and I the other day I was over her house and I noticed her dad, and her dad is in his 50s, and what came to mind was like, he's hot, something like that. She said that essentially she was changing her mind about the age difference between men and women as far as dating, and that gave me renewed hope. So I thought like God was telling me, relax. Near the the meat of the or the end of the first video, I had introduced the concept of the seven, and again, you'd have to go back and watch the first one. But I had discussed about or recounted two girls that I had met and how all that transpired. And so by that time, I'm starting to detect a pattern. And the question should be, why is God putting me through this? This is very painful. And a lesson that I could, learn, maybe good for somebody else. If you're going through something, in Christianese we call it a trial, rather than trying to get out of it or just being angry like a God at circumstances, at life, or wishing it was over, you might ask God, what is it that I'm supposed to learn from this time? What I just covered was just something that I forgot to include in the first video. So now we continue actually where I left off in the first video. And so the time with the second girl ended on a particular night. I go over that. I got angry at God. God reminded me about this introduction, this idea of the seven. And just in case I wasn't sure, the very next morning, number three comes into the picture and calls me and wanted to talk. Now, this was a little different. I had known of number three. By the way, uncanny, something else. All these girls that I'm going to talk about go to the same church. So I have known of number three. Somehow she had gotten my number. I didn't give it to her. In fact, I think she told me she got it from somebody. And so that very next morning, I'm still reeling emotionally from the letdown of number two and the letdown of number one when number three calls me that morning. And I didn't have it. I didn't have a time to process any feelings. We just started, just like the other two. She started calling me, started wanting to hang out. We'd go to the movies together, on and on it went. This one lasted longer, and by this time, since I'm definitely seeing a pattern, I can go longer without developing any feelings for her because I realized, okay, this is just number 3 of 7. So we went for months and months, and but eventually I did start having feelings for her, but I was able to, keep them squashed and continue to be friends. But eventually, it just got to be too much, and I finally, again, told her that I was having feelings for her. And at first she backed off, but then like a day later she called me back and she said, "Well, okay, I wish you didn't, but can we still be friends? Because I need you. I really need a friend. I need." So I said, "Okay, I'll try." So we continued on, and then within 2 weeks after that or so, then she decided, "Oh well, maybe this is a good thing." So apparently she started liking the idea that I did have feelings for her, and we actually went to a Christmas dinner. She showed me off to some friends, and we acted like a couple. And things were starting to heat up a bit. Um, by now, we're several months into this, whatever it was. But then it was time to end it, and God had stepped in, and things went south, and it ended. I didn't feel as bad that by the third time I was getting used to this idea. This one's a little different in that she later came back into the picture as a friend, and that is going to lead into another lesson. I'm going to stop it right here because, again, we're getting on long. So, again, if you're interested, stay tuned for video number 3.